All right. How's it going? Good. What's new? Anything? Nothing exciting? All right. Last class we talked about communication, how important it is in the world of business and on a personal level. All right. Today we'll kind of wrap up talking about different facets of communication as well. I'll talk about some marketing psychological techniques we can use to help drive business. All right, so we talked about communication and noise and barriers. We talked about these: physical language, body language, perceptual, organizational, cultural. We also talked about the importance of nonverbal communication, right? Eye contact, tone of voice, facial expressions, gesture, and posture. How important that is in the world of business and personal, in any kind of sense, right? Without these things being, say in a healthy balance, then we have miscommunication, right? So we have to adapt. Certain cultures, individuals may not like direct eye contact, right? They may find that to be maybe aggressive or too forthcoming, right? So you say you want to kind of maybe ease off if that's the case. Certain cultures come from speaking low, speaking high. Certain cultures we say low context, high context. In the United States, we have low context culture, which means that we speak very directly. 8 a.m. means 8 a.m. Nothing more, nothing less, right? Everything that we type in the email usually is everything that we mean. Now, other cultures, you say, high context cultures, you're like, well, there's a lot of other meanings that we got to draw out from what someone said. You're like, oh, I didn't really mean that, right? Or it meant more than what I actually said, right? Symbolisms, things of that nature, right? So we have to adapt, all right? So we think about things like intelligences. What does it mean to be intelligence? Is intelligence just one dimension where you have general intelligence, or can people be intelligent in many different ways, right? Now when it comes to communication or whatnot, what can you think of in terms of different types of intelligences that can help a person communicate well? Can you think of different types of intelligences that are out there? What about when you hear people like, oh, that person's street smart? Like, what does that mean? What does that mean when someone says that?
It's like you've been outside, like you're used to being outside, and you know how the streets work, basically.
Like, hey, I know how the outside world, the social reality works, right? You're like, that's important, right? A lot of it's common sense, but a lot of it's getting out of your head and back, well, what's in my head doesn't necessarily mean that that's how the world works outside, right? So someone street smart is well adapted to how the world works outside. Social reality versus psychological reality. Anything else? Can you think of another type of intelligence? You say street smart is maybe a form of intelligence. Do you think of anything else? All right, what about things like emotional intelligence? Right? You're like, hey, you're able to pick up on people's emotions and adapt. You pay attention to their body language, their facial features, their gestures, and you react accordingly. Right? You can tell when people are upset, when people are genuine, authentic, something of the sort. People are stressed out. And you adapt your responses to that, right? So emotional intelligence. What else? Different types of intelligence that are out there. Yes?
Do they do like school-wise?
Sure, you can be academic intelligent, right? You're like, hey, you're good with concepts, theories, following rules, right? Completing tasks when it comes to school. So you have maybe academic intelligence. What else that can help us with communication? What about cultural intelligence? Right? Say, hey, I've been around the world. I understand that people do things differently. Some cultures may eat with their hand, and I'm over here saying ill. You're like, oh, say ill, be like, oh, that person has a low cultural intelligence. They're kind of culturally dumb. They think the world operates one way only, right? Like, that's not true, right? Different places, people behave, think, feel, value different things. And if you're well cultured, it makes you more open-minded. Like, yeah, I can see how you can see that. I may disagree, but I sure can see how you can see that, right? Those perspectives. So, all sorts of intelligence, right? There's a multitude. There's like kinesthetic intelligence, how to manipulate your body like an athlete. Like, how did the gymnast know how to do that in 12-hour body like that? She's in tune with the use of her body, using her mind. A lot of us are not that connected to do the same thing, right? Like, there's all multiple forms of intelligence. But here we're talking about ways to communicate, paying attention to these types of things so that we can communicate that. So we say maybe here in the West, we do have direct eye contact. Maybe in the East, not so much, right? It may come off aggressive or creepy or something. But here we feel that looking direct eye contact makes integrity and trust. It means that you get my attention to some degree, right? Tone of voice, right? Effective through variation. How to change your voice. How to take it up. How to take it down. You're like, well, some people are monotone. No matter the story they're telling, they're saying it at the same level. I'm like, oh, that story sucks. Because I think that was the climax of the story, that you should have evoked more emotion, right? And you didn't. You just got the same old tone of voice, right? So you're like, it's good when you can express tone different ways. Take it up, take it down, right? Take it here, take it there. Especially if you're like narrating a story or something of the sort. Facial expressions. We say various emotions like agreement. Some people nod, right? You're listening to somebody like, yeah, I get it. Get it. And some people don't. People just look at you. But you say, hey, you know what? You're giving cues. You're giving cues of comprehension because sender and receiver have to kind of match. And now you make the sender feel weird. You're like, oh, I don't think they get what I'm saying, right? You have no clue. So you're like, hey, you know what? This is two-party system, bi-directional, right? And you're like, it's tricky. If not, what we say is, hey, it leads to miscommunication, and we got a problem. And then we say gesture and posture, right? Confidence and coherence. Think about it. Sometimes it's not even the words that come out of your mouth. It's just how you present it. So if you're slouch, poor gesture, you're no longer believable. Even if you're spewing facts, we don't believe you, right? You don't have the posture of authority about what you're talking about, right? So you slouchy. So gesture is also important. Think about like a drill sergeant. Right? If you're a drill sergeant, you're being the perfect representation of authority, right? Like, I am the person for the rest of you to follow and represent, right? You gotta scream and shout, you gotta do the knife hand. Anyone ever seen the knife hand? Right? So in the military, they have the knife hand. We say, hey, actually doing things like this, these are pokes. Subconsciously. So like people kind of feel, wait, are you poking me? Like, no, these are just hand gestures. But they have real significant meaning. So in the military, drill sergeants do the knife hand. So when he comes and shouts, he puts basically the hand as a knife under, almost like a threatening gesture, right? Forcing you, right? Aggression. Anybody just that? Just that can change people's behaviors. Just a hand gesture, right? So think about it when you talk. Like, oh, am I giving myself across my arms? Most people think it's a defense mechanism, but it's really a self-hug. You're soothing yourself, calming yourself if you cross your arm. You just give yourself a self-hug. You hug yourself, right? Because you're kind of trying to relax yourself. So yes, body postures, gestures, things of that have a lot of meaning. Right? It's good to use arms sometimes. Some people use a lot of arms. Some people use no hand gestures when they talk, right? Remember we said people get bored. So you gotta kind of stimulate them, entertain as part of conveying information, so you can keep their attention. Part theatrics, right, to some degree. So hand gestures are good. A distraction of some sort, right? All right, else we say there's miscommunication. You're like, hey, we have miscommunicated. Now let me ask you, anybody presently or just recent you say, I have a miscommunication with in your life? Like, we are not connecting with our communication. There's something off. And could you tell me what do you think it is and how you can resolve it? Yes.
Me and my roommate, we like to rage bait each other a lot. So like, instead of like being friendly, sometimes we just like to annoy the crap out of each other, and we miscommunicate a lot because of that. Because even if we might agree with each other, we just like not make each other mad. So.
All right. You're like, hey, you're like, hey, our communication style in this environment, right, is to rage bait, is to throw a topic that's gonna incinerate the whole environment just so we can argue it, right? Now we're gonna debate, right? So we can use choice words like you're this, you're that, et cetera, right? Miscommunication, right? Which I would think kind of trolling, kind of like being a troll, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, you guys are terrible.
Kind of troll. Anyone else? Did you feel that you have any miscommunication? Now you don't have to get personal, you could generalize it, but you have miscommunication and you understand why you have the miscommunication. Yes.
So there's this guy on our team. He, you know, in a sense is like, has a slower brain capacity than a lot of the other guys. And, you know, there's a lot of things that, you know, could be satire or it could be sarcastic that he just would stare at you with the face. And it's like, you can't tell if you're joking or not.
He's not getting it.
Yeah.
He's not getting it, right? Over your head type of thing.
It's cool.
Hey, so let me ask you, do you feel like, all right, cognitively, like, he doesn't get it, or you're like, he gets it, but it's just not funny now? He gets the interpretation, he just doesn't have the same response.
No.
So he's like legitimately confused about what we're saying.
Yes.
Now let me ask you this. Would you think that he is more of a direct communicator? You're like, hey, do not throw any metaphors
Yes.
or things like that to confuse, make it direct.
Yes.
Okay. So think about it. Hey, think about that. You're like, if you're a coach, and you're like, hey, I got different personalities, people with different backgrounds, different whatever, right? I gotta try to convey information to everyone. Do we have an expectancy that everyone gets it? Maybe we do. Maybe we think everyone is on the same level as we are. But oftentimes they're not, right? And they come from different ways, and you're like, hey, they're direct, they're not gonna get the metaphor, they didn't get the joke, it went over their head, move on, right? But yes, if in a team situation, like, well, it creates disharmony maybe, because if like we got a group of people and we pinpoint that one person, like, don't tell them the joke, they're gonna like ask a million questions about how does that make sense or something. Okay, excellent, and I saw another hand over here.
Oh,
Yes.
with my parents,
Mhm.
it's kind of like we're always getting into it because they don't understand like the way I want to do things, because they're very like old school, I guess.
Traditional.
Yeah, so the way they see me doing things, they're like, no, that's wrong, like you shouldn't be doing it that way. And then like me having like a younger mindset, I'm just like, no, but like there's nothing bad with the way I'm doing this, it's just the fact that they're not open to this. So then that starts like arguments between us and stuff like that.
So let me ask you, have you thought of any solutions or resolutions? You're like, my parents' way of thinking is this, my way of thinking is that. How do I meet them for us to like have harmony with
not really, I kind of just be like, it's whatever, I just continue doing it, like.
Okay, and so think about that. Sometimes when we have miscommunication, we're frustrated and like, that's too much work, right? We avoid it. And then it's just left out there in the world to simmer, right? Or we could say, you know what? Maybe the way that I'm conveying about how I actually view the world, maybe I should change that up so that they can kind of understand it more, even if they don't accept it. Kind of agree to disagree, right? Like, hey, we disagree. I come from a different generation. I'm more open-minded. I don't think that I have to do exactly everything that was traditional and historical to what grandma and grandpa did, et cetera, right? Challenges. What were you gonna say?
I think for me it's kind of like the same thing she said, because they're very like old school as well. But for me, what helps me is that my brother always tries to explain it. So my brother's older, and he always gets in the way. So like he's way more wise, like I would say, and he always tries to explain them like, oh yeah, like this is what's happening nowadays. Like this is how teenagers do this, and like they always seem to understand more when he like talks for me.
Okay, so they're like, hey, I use a buffer. I use someone in between the generations of my parents and me, and they can kind of explain a little bit better about how things have changed in the world. Not only that, but you're like, hey, let's say mom and dad come from a particular culture. Where are they from? Were they born in Mexico and then migrated to the United States? All right. So you're like, hey, mom and dad, I understand. You brought your culture with you very strong, and you want to keep that for your children. Completely understand. But were you all born here in the U.S.? Like, I'm born into American culture, so I'm going to take on a lot of American characteristics and values. But maybe I'll take some of the important things that I like about the heritage culture, right? Like the recipes, the food, right? The celebrations, the holidays, right? But then like the way I want to live my life, who I want to choose to be with and marry, or how I dress, or whatever, like maybe you want it to be your own choice. Right? You don't want others to decide for you how to do that. So yes, we can use a buffer. Anyone else want to throw in some miscommunication? All right, and so last week we talked about listening, do's and don'ts. Listening is more important than speaking, usually, right? You get all the information, right? Some people cut people off. I mean, they're not waiting for all the information. They're just ready to respond with their own. And then we say channels. Now in the world of business or even personal, like, hey, some things are appropriate in a way to communicate, others are not. I mean, should we text? Should we call? Should we meet in person? Should we do a Zoom? Should I email you? Should I use social media? Should I use something for a case, a situation, right? What's appropriate, what's not, right? Because we say, hey, if you used the wrong thing, either that person didn't see it, right? They saw it too late. Once again, it still got confused. You put emojis and stuff, and that wasn't even necessary. You should have called instead of shooting emails. Different appropriate things for different situations. All right, so we gave examples. We say texting, memos, or reports, email, voicemail, telephone conversation, video conferencing, in-person presentation, and face-to-face meetings. Here on the side note, did you all complete your little one slide? Okay, so we could do that in a minute here. All right, and consider the audience. It's not about you, right? It's not about you all the time. If you want to be effective, you have to be effective to the audience, not you, right? Yeah, you're crafting the message, but the person can understand it. So if you make something too complicated, you be like, yeah, that sounds great to you, but that might feel good to you. Wow, use fancy words, right? You know this and you know that, but you're like, nobody understood, right? Pointless information, right? Sometimes we have really bad teachers like that. They're saying all the fancy words and like everybody's looking blank, like, what? What's that mean? Right? You can't explain it to a 2-year-old, you don't know it, right? Gotta be able to say it simple. Keep it simple. right? So we say, try to communicate your message in the easiest way possible. And analysis and consideration of your audience should be a top priority. So here's our first discussion question as a group. Okay, choosing the right channel is essential to any form of communication, just as you wouldn't want to learn about a family member's death on Facebook. You probably wouldn't want to hear about all of your casual acquaintances' video game accomplishments in person, right? Any gamers? Any gamers? Right? You won't want to hear about all my Twitch success, right? Because I'm on Twitch playing Fortnite. I'm killing it. Alright. Choose 2 communication channels you might use to convey a message in each of the following circumstances. And 2 that you would avoid. So basically, think 2 that you think is most appropriate, and maybe 2 you think least appropriate in the situation. Here's the first one. You're running a bit late to lunch with your coworker. What means of communication would you use, right? What's most appropriate, what's least appropriate? You're pitching a new product idea to a group of investors, which you think would be most appropriate. And you need to relay some information to a coworker who is homesick. Or you have to review complex project details with a freelancer. Right, so think of the most appropriate. Remember we said text, telephone call, video conferencing, right? Email, social media, face-to-face, right? Memo, something of the sort, right? Let me know your thoughts within your groups. What you think are the most appropriate, maybe the least.
Alright, real question is the coworker at home. You're running late, so do you want to use it? Your coworker, she was sometimes late.
No, it's just balance.
Stuck in a car crash or something.
But, well, yeah, it depends on the accident, like, you're just running with you, like, your train's late, like, yo, train's late, I'll be there in like.
No, if it's like 5 minutes, you're not doing anything.
Yeah, no, if it's like 5 minutes, you send a text, but if it's like an hour, 2 hours, then you call.
No, if it's 5 minutes, you're not getting anything.
No,
If it's 10 minutes,
Okay.
you're gonna text.
7 minutes, after 7 minutes, they get a text. But then after like 30 to 45 minutes, an hour, you get a call
Yeah, not really.
after that. And the fishing product that they do, you gotta do a call.
Face
No?
to face or like
Zoom, yeah, it has to be Zoom, it can be Zoom. That's what they do now, which is, you need to relay some information to a coworker who's homesick. Well, it depends on what you relay, like, it's important, you might wanna like Zoom them in. You have to, you have to review complex project details with a freelancer in person. Oh, will they go Zoom?
either or.
I feel like it just depends on what they like. Depends on their likes, not yours.
Who here text with one hand only?
Low-key,
No.
I think I do.
Who here texts with both hands?
Well, like,
I think I do
which
that
one
more often.
which one you prefer, or like,
Which one you do more
Which
often?
one you do most?
yeah, too. Like, it just depends, and sometimes
That's about 50 with the keyboard.
Can you close the door?
you want to walk over, show your way on the Snapchat, you get notifications last year. Just keep spamming. Like, so pissed.
Any Demon Slayer fans in here?
one day it came out after practice. We all went. We watched it.
Was it good?
It was fire.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I gotta check it out.
It should have been put into seasons. Like it works. Like the movie's good, but it would have worked so much better in episodic format, just because of how like Demon Slayer is. Because it always goes like, I don't know if you realize, but it's always a pattern: fight, backstory, fight, end the fight, start fight, backstory, middle of fight, backstory, end fight. And it works so much better in episodes because you're not just going from action to backstory,
Gotcha.
It's like each episode's different. But I still find it very, very enjoyable.
But you wish it would have mixed it up a little bit.
It just doesn't work as well as a movie, Demon Slayer itself.
Yeah.
Like, it's very accurate to the manga, and it's like, the animation, of course, is very, very top tier. And it's not bad by any means, but it's just like, the pacing, it's really fast and really slow, and really fast and really slow, and it's like hard to adapt while in a movie, and you
Yeah.
have to be there and watch the whole thing.
Yeah, it's usually like those type of, series are hard to put in like a 2 hour, 2.5 hour movie like that. Alright, what are we thinking? What were your thoughts?
We said for A, it depends on the time frame of how late you're gonna be. Like
Mhm.
if you're like 5 minutes late, nothing. But if you're like 10 minutes late, you shoot them a text. But if you're gonna be like an hour too late, like, you gotta call and tell them I'm not coming, or you gotta move it. For number 2, that's either in person or on a Zoom meeting. Like it either needs to be a way to like actually show what you're demonstrating. So I have to have a Zoom and not just a phone call. For 3, I'd say probably like an email or a Zoom call. And 4, probably in person, but maybe a Zoom, depending on the person.
Okay. Alright, excellent. What are your thoughts?
Well, we kind of said the same thing. The first one was maybe like a text message, like, oh, I'm gonna get 5 minutes late, or depending on how you're doing late. The second one, maybe like a meeting if you're in person, like a presentation or something like that. The third one, I think it kind of depends on if you're close to the coworker, maybe a message or an email would work best probably. And the third one also the same one as the second one, like a presentation, a meeting, or an email or something like that.
Okay. In the back, anything different?
No, for the first one, we kind of said the same thing, depending on how late we're gonna run. If you are like driving, I feel like maybe a phone call is gonna be easier, just so you're not on the road texting. And well, if you're not, then it would be beneficial to just send a text.
Okay. Alright, and anything different for you in the back?
If I'm running late, I'll probably like tell them that I'll pay for their lunch. If I have like a lunch, I'll probably pay for their lunch or something.
So you offer to pay for lunch?
Yeah.
Alright, what about for any of the other ones? Anything different that you would do?
If it's like, if someone's home sick, I'll just spam them, like I'll just call them or email them until they answer. Yeah.
Okay. Alright, good. Alright, well, let's do this. Let's have our next presentation up here. You can bring a laptop?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, WR. Got it.
You guys, you're doing, you got a separate one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just plug it into this cable.
Yeah, it's USB-C, right? Okay. I like this class, this is nice. How's the professor in this class?
That guy up there, he's terrible.
What about the other guy?
He's pretty sure.
What is it? Yes.
So all I really wanted.
Want to put it on a slideshow?
So all I was really gonna talk about today is, like over the weekend, President Trump talked about how Tylenol, specifically the acetaminophen brand, who was produced by Johnson & Johnson, made like, you can say controversial, whatever, or made like a statement saying that it's bad for women in pregnancies. I just wanted to talk about the stock price in general and how it, like, a big so if you look at the date of around right here, so this is Friday when, so the 19th, so right here, the original dip, this would be the Friday before when he was asked like a question if he was gonna bring it up. And so as we see, like the stock drops over the weekend, but it opens back up high before he makes any actual statements on it. And then here we see he made the statement about it and it drops. But because of how strong of a brand that Johnson & Johnson is and how much like trust that a lot of the stockholders have in it, no matter like even like a high presidential figure, no matter the claims that they make, their brand and company is so strong in name that it does not going to affect the stock price. Like as we see, it bounces right back up, not even like half a day later, and is continuing to keep on increasing. So I basically just came to talk about how like studies and things and people might make claims, but a brand's name and value has so much more importance in a way than what one person can say control about it. So stock price is really about how affluent the company is and how people think of it, rather than the cases that are run against it.
Gotcha. So like, hey, Johnson & Johnson, no matter what statements negative made about people think that they're trustworthy and they're a company of integrity, and thus they're still gonna support it, even if the president speaks ill about it. And even, you think for the fact that like, it's just become a topic of debate, that also has kind of led to it spiking up like that?
They draw attention.
Yeah, or maybe on the flip side, people who are like, oh, that's completely bogus claim. Now let's just buy more, Tylenol, let's buy more
It's
Tylenol.
like boycott / anti-boycott, like this would be the boycott dip, and then people will always make the claim, no, they were wrong, so the anti-boycott dip jumps it right back up. So, I thought it was pretty interesting, because I wanted to look more into how that would affect the actual stock price, and I thought it was interesting that it went back up to higher than before, because I would think that it wouldn't, but just the brand name's so strong that it did, so.
Yeah. All right, excellent, great job. Any questions or comments about Tylenol? All right.
Go, buddy.
I'm gonna go, like, he's gonna lecture some.
Yeah, I'll break it up, I'll lecture a little bit more, and then you can. All right, picking the right words. Picking the right words. Hey, is that a pre-loved car or just plain used? Hey, think of the trickiness used in wording. You're like, oh, pre-owned. Like, don't you mean used car? Like, no. This is pre-owned. You're like, is that the same as a used car? What's the difference? When you go on the dealership website, like, oh, these are pre-owned. And these are used. Right? You're like, hey, it's just wordplay, right? Wordplay. You're like, well, we consider used anything over in 5 years. But pre-owned will be anything that's like 2 to 3 years with X amount of miles on it, right? So using pick the right words in order to convey certain things. All right, picking the right words, right? You don't speak to everyone the same. You should switch up the way that you speak to certain people, right? So analyze your audience. Consider audience expectations, education, and profession. Be concise. Include all information your audience need, but not more. Don't give too much information. People don't remember too much, right? Avoid slang. May unintentionally alienate your audience. Do any of you feel like you use slang when you talk to people? Or it depends. You feel like you use slang all the time? No? Right, slang could be, I think it could be useful or humorous, I think, sometime in context, if you're being funny, right? Even if you're making like a professional presentation, you like throw out some slang humor, that could be good. All right, avoid bias. Remember I said I've met many intelligent people in my life, geniuses. I've met very few people who are objective. Most people I know speak from personal bias. They feel a way about something and that's it. They don't see the argument on the other side. They don't see the circular situation of the argument, the context. They don't care about that stuff, right? They only care about how they feel and the way that they see the world, and that's it, that's all, right? And that's very smart people, I know, that speak that way. But, you know, I say I've met very few people who are always objective. Like, yeah, I can see how you feel that way, even if I disagree. I see how you feel that way. I can understand that. I understand how you can feel that way. Right? So we say avoid bias. Bias is a preconception about members of a particular group. Common form of bias include gender, age, race, ethnicity, nationality bias. Right? Remember we say we have, in psychology, fundamental attribution error. When you see someone from a particular group, you automatically think that behavior is personal. It's because of that person, right? You don't see the situation or the context or the environment in which that person is at. You take no account of that information. Fundamental bias, right? So we make bias on people because of their age, their race, ethnicity, nationality, or their gender. Here's a gender bias, right? Consists of words that suggest stereotypical attitudes towards a specific gender. If you don't know gender, use proper names or nouns or convert pronouns to plural. Age bias, right? American culture associates youth with highly valued qualities such as creativity, speed, independence, and individualism. So a lot of times we consider old people to not be that creative, right? That's a bias. Like, oh, they're not as creative as young people. Right? We don't want to listen to that old music. That music sucks, right? Bias, right? For one, because you are part of a member. Anybody, my membership is my age group. I value what they value, right? Race, ethnicity, and nationality sometimes stem from unarticulated assumptions about a person's attitudes, opinions, and their experiences, right? So we're always assuming something based on pre-existing information we have. Like, oh, I've had experience with these types of people, so I assume that you are all the same way, right? Completely false. Use the active voice whenever possible, right? Active voice facilitates direct, powerful, and concise communication and is used when the subject of the sentence is doing the action. Right? Using an active voice also shows accountability that creates a deeper trust between the speaker and the audience. Right? Passive voice is used when the subject of the sentence is not doing the action described by the verb. Right? So to give an example here, the accountant did the taxes. Right? Or we could say passive, the taxes were done by the accountant. Right? A little tricky to kind of get that, but. All right, so here's another question. What differentiates constructive feedback versus destructive feedback? So when you're giving your opinion about something, and you be like, hey, am I being a bit harsh? Am I just saying this stuff to be destructive? Or am I being constructive? I'm actually trying to give feedback to help the person improve or something to that. What differentiates that in terms of the use of words? What do you think? I'll let you talk with your groups about that for a couple minutes. Think of some examples where you're like, hey, you know what? I don't feel that I got some feedback from somebody, and I don't feel like that they were doing it to be constructive. I feel like they were doing it personally just to kind of knock me down or something, right? Think about those situations. What is it about those words, those choice of words, that differentiates constructive from destructive feedback?
Who's playing the cha-cha slide right now?
Right, you can think of other things too, like reviews, right? You see reviews online. You gonna take a peek, go ahead. Is that, it's coming from the theater.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I forget what that was.
I would say a simple way to think about it is like, what are the words being used when you think someone's being a hater? Right? Like being a hater perceived as destructive feedback, right? When you go on something and people are just commenting, you're like, the person's just being a hater. Like what makes them a hater? As opposed to say the other people are giving opinions and it seems kind of positive, right? What kind of words or what kind of word play is being used? All right, what are your thoughts? What do you think of?
I think the tone is very important, but like a combination between the tone and like sometimes your words are suggestive and other ones are more like communication. You have to do it. And switch. So yes, when you feel like you can read this very so you can use this.
Gotcha. So tone of voice, and then if the words are suggestive, like, hey, I think that you could kind of do this, or they're like kind of forcing you, you have to do it this way, right? Okay, great. What were you thinking?
You said constructive feedback, maybe like someone telling you how you did, like pointing out what you did wrong, but also telling you how to improve it, like how you can fix it. Whereas constructive feedback, it's just like what you did wrong, everything that was wrong, and not telling you how to improve it.
Yeah, you're like, that's the worst, right? And most people do that. Most people do that. Most people pinpoint what they think you did wrong with no solutions. It ends, right? It ends right there with like, oh, you know, this, and that, right? You did this bad, or that sucks, right? That sucks, or this is bad. You're like, okay, well, what do you suggest? How to improve it? They got nothing, right? They got nothing to offer. Being destructive. What were your thoughts? Constructive versus destructive.
Oh no, you got it.
I think it's more about tonality and phrasing.
Mhm.
So it's just the tone and the phrase that comes back to it. Like, just think about it like playing sports, how you would your teammate and they do like something wrong. It's like you of course can be like very constructive on that, but is it in a negative tone, in a neutral tone, or in a positive tone? I think that dictates more if it's constructive or destructive rather than what's actually being said, I'd say.
Okay, so once again, tone of voice, so like, hey, I can sense from that tone that you're just like, coming out harsh on me on purpose, or you're like actually trying to help me and motivate me to do better maybe next time, right? What about in the back?
I guess it's just like about like their attitude or like how they are, like if like they're aggressive or not. It depends on the situation.
Alright, you're like, hey, attitude is a lot of things. Attitude is body language, right? Non-verbal cues, like you could just sense people's energies if they're being a hater, right? Or destructive in some way. Alright, excellent. Okay, we got our next presentation up here. Man, I miss going to school. This used to be fun.
How long ago was the last time you was in class?
Ah, 3 months ago. 3 months.
Alright, so I know in class we've talked about, ethics a little bit, so I was intrigued, to see the ethics of, one of my favorite brands, and I wear it all the time, I mean, my shoes, my socks, clothing, from Nike, and I really wanna show you guys after this, this was something brief that I saw, on the actual page, because if you search up Nike and ethics, they have obviously their whole list of what they do, and I'll pull that up in a second. But the first thing I thought was interesting was requirements to be a Nike supplier. It says removing the underage employee from the workplace, providing support to enable the underage employee to attend and remain in school or in vocational training until the age of 16, and the minimal legal working age, whichever is higher, and agreement to rehire the underage employee when they reach the age of 16 or legal working age, if the worker wishes, which I found was a very interesting thing to put at the top of the page. So it made me ask the question, well, obviously, if they probably had problems with underage working, whether it be in the US or, well, as it says here, in their Nike suppliers. So a lot of their clothes is, I think it said Cambodia. So I actually wanna show you guys the page of the Nike Human Rights and Labor Compliance Standards. And it just goes on and on and on. Forced labor, which in my opinion, I think they would not have a lot of these things listed here if they not have prior problems with it. And I found it very interesting. Like discrimination and gender equality also would not have that if you did not have a prior problem with that in working hours. And it also brought up the question to me, well, who enforces these rules and regulations in the country that these clothes are being made? Obviously, there has to be someone, but how strict and how often and how does it get reported? And
So let me ask you, do you think potentially that Nike's strategy is to at least explicitly state these things with no real kind of way to actually look into it and change it? Or in the sense that they're putting this up here just for regulatory and legal purposes, just so if any kind of news breaks or any investigative things happen, that they, already have this information that they're against these practices, even though they probably won't do anything about the practices?
my thing is that if it was listed, they've had people report and come out and obviously have said something about these. And, now they have to have them, but obviously there's probably a time date of when this was made, and it's just, I don't think they actually really regulate it apart from like maybe stores in the US. Like there's one in Aurora, and they probably make sure stuff is good in the country, but outside the country, probably don't care.
Yeah, and it's difficult to enforce, too, right?
So,
Okay. All right, excellent. Yeah. Any questions or comments about Nike's human rights, compliance, and ethics? Like, hey, well, Nike just probably took a responsive approach, that you say. Somebody mentioning some investigative journalist came out as a big story. Like, get our attorneys on there and draft up a compliance, right? We're not gonna really do anything about it, right? Maybe a little bit, but we'll just have it out there, like, hey, we're against that. All right, and then lastly, I wanna cover a few things about business, how we can get people to purchase things, right? The art of persuasion, kind of marketing. Alright, marketing psychology tricks. So we say, hey, in business, because you're making all these observations about businesses. You're like, oh man, this place is good, this place is bad. I think they should do this. But how can we look at the psychology, how we use psych hacks to get people to actually want something, right? To get people to act about something. So I'll talk about a couple of those. Alright, some cognitive biases in persuasion. Let's see if I can blow that up. Alright, so here's some tricks to pay attention to. How do you get people to purchase things? How do you get them to act? Things you probably did yourself, right? Things we probably all did. One, we say scarcity effects. You say, as a business, I want to create scarcity, meaning that a sense of urgency to buy something now, or that it's so rare, only a few people can have it. So I could put only 2 left in stock. Could be a complete lie. Doesn't matter. But you create a sense of urgency for people to act now, right? How many of you have bought because of this? Only 2 left, right? You're like, oh, is it true? Doesn't matter if it's true. It's a business operation. Yes.
Is there guidelines that companies have to be honest about that, or does it matter?
I mean, how would anybody know? You have to do some real deep digging, right? Unless maybe someone internally kind of exposed that. Yeah, you probably could go to court. Of course, I think if it's a widespread practice and it gets exposed, yeah, probably could go to court for some reason. But who knows? They may can make an argument as to why they said it was only 2. It was only 2 in that story, right? Anyway, but this is like, hey, how do you create a desire, create a need? So you may think like, hey, I desire, want, and need certain products. Be like, wait, hold on. Is it really you? Or did the company do something to make you do it? Social proof, big one. Okay, wait, back to scarcity. We say, hey, only 2 left. Louis Vuitton, Gucci bag, right? It's only 2 left. Therefore, pay the $2,000 for the bag. Like, well, if I don't get it, then I'm never gonna have it again. And if I get it, I'll be rare. No one else has this shoe. No one else has this colorway of shoe, right? No one has this particular bag. So back to scarcity, like, hey, higher perceived value. If you limit the amount of things available, you could charge more money, right? Because people want to be rare. People want to be unique and have the thing. All right, social proof. You're like, hey, we usually operate on other people's opinions. You go on Yelp to look at restaurants that have reviews. You look at the reviews. And those reviews inform your decision on where you're going to eat, right? You're like, why am I listening to other people? Because we do have social proof, right? It makes us feel safe following the crowd. Testimonials on TikTok, right? You go and read the comments on all of TikTok, see what everybody sees, and it helps you form your opinion about these things. So we do follow the crowd. Or we could put things like bestseller. Like bestseller of what? Like, doesn't matter. It's bestseller. It's the best. It's number 1. Number 1 of what? Doesn't matter. Right? So these are the tricks, right, that companies can use to drive business. All right, third, authority bias. Right? Authority bias. Okay, using experts, quote unquote experts, doctors, or influencers to boost trust and credibility. Where have you seen this used? Where have you seen influencers or doctors or experts being used to make you try to purchase something? Yes.
Ozempic.
Okay, you say Ozempic, right? You're like, hey, weight loss, really for diabetes, I believe. But weight loss, right? We're going to use what kind of people to promote?
Celebrities, fat celebrities.
Right? You're like, hey, we're using celebrities. Look how many pounds he or she lost, right? If they do it, I could do it. I could look just like them. Where else? Where else do you think of authoritative figures? Any of you follow like TikTok influencers and you look at products?
Oh, like, I guess like celebrities got like their own brands. Like I see Kourtney Kardashian has like her own gummy brand. Like a vitamin. Yeah.
Okay, You're like, hey, you know what? If my favorite celebrity buys it, I buy it.
Shakalicious gummies.
Shakalicious.
Yes.
Shakalicious.
Big Chicken by Shaq.
Big chicken with
Anything
Shaq.
that Shaq sells, I buy it.
What about for makeup? Any of you like follow? Who's like the big makeup people, influencers? Ariana Grande. I know there's another. Who's the other one?
For a really big minute, it was James Charles. Back when I was growing up, like, it was James Charles. Whatever
Okay.
he was using, everyone.
Everyone's using, right? So we say heavy use authority bias. Now here's the big one. Toothpaste. But 5 out of 10 dentists recommend this toothpaste versus, you're like, which dentist? Oh, the dentist from this organization. You're like, what organization? I've never heard of that. You're like, we're an organization we created as a company. Like, let's create a dental organization and we get 10 dentists to say, yeah, we're a member of it, so that we can slap that on the packaging and sell it to more people. And they believe it. Dental recommended, right? We might have paid those dentists some money too to do it, right? So, you might get a little bit of unethics, but it still flies. People still do it. Decoy effect. Well, no, anchoring effect. Hey, you thought you got 30% off. Guess what? The 30% off price was the real price they wanted to sell it from the beginning. And they put a higher price and put a little red slash between it. And now you're walking around talking about you got a deal and you feel good about it. Right? Like, oh, that's a perfect strategy as a business. Right? Showing a higher original price makes the discounted price feel like a bargain. A decoy effect. Adding a third, less attractive option nudges buyers towards the product you really want them to choose. Right? So you're like, how do I get them to buy more of this one thing? Well, put a crappy thing right next to it. You put a crappy thing and a nice thing together, it'll make people buy more of the nice thing. You just introduce another alternative, right? That's the decoy effect. All right, and some of our emotional triggers because of this. Right, FOMO, right? Sale ends tonight, fear of missing out. You're getting anxiety because you have to get it before the sale ends. Or we put the little countdown ticker. You go on the website and there's a little clock. 5 minutes left, 4 minutes left, I gotta buy it, right? Sale ends in 5 minutes. A sense of urgency, right? A sense of urgency. So FOMO. We got Nike again, belonging and identity. Like, ooh, is it just Nike for the quality and the design, the aesthetic and the price? Maybe, maybe not. We say Nike and Apple sell lifestyle and identity, not just products, right? How do we know this? People talk about Nike. They'll defend Nike. It's the best, right? Our Apple iPhones, it makes us feel like we're classy, sophisticated. We might talk down on people who got Android, right? Dunkin' Donuts versus Starbucks or something, right? We're like, hey, it sells identity. It's part of your identity and it's a lifestyle. You think that you are this and that because you purchase only this and that, right? Loss aversion. People hate losing more than they like gaining. So there's things like free trials, but don't lose your access framing that are effective. Reciprocity. Free samples or helpful content create a feeling of obligation to give back. Storytelling. Stories stick in memory that can connect emotionally better than raw facts. And then lastly, we get things like charm pricing. You're like, why isn't it just $10? Why does it say $9.99? Right? Because $9.99 puts it in the 9 category, not 10 category. In your mind, $10 is too much. But at $9.99, you might consider it. We call that a left digit bias. We have color psychology. Each color evokes emotions from us, right? So red means urgency or energetic, like Ferrari red or Coca-Cola. Blue means trust. Green means environment or eco-friendly or fresh. Black usually conveys luxury. Then we got the foot in the door technique, right? Where it's kind of sales approach. Get people to say yes to something small before asking for a purchase. So how you do it, you're like, hey, if you sign up is free. You're like, okay, I'll do it, I'll sign up, it's free. You sign up, and now they're gonna bombard you with a bunch of advertisements to get you to buy something later, right? Got your information, right? Sign up for free so I can get your contact info. Then we have things like Endowed Progress. Anyone here uses McDonald's app or Dunkin' Donuts app? Raise your hand. All right, and you're looking at the bar, 80 more points, 150, get a free cheeseburger, right? More points, you get a free coffee, free donut, right? So we call that Endowed Progress effect. This to motivate you to go back there, right? So you get a reward. They also use it on exams or surveys. So you look at the top 60% complete. So like, if that little bar was on there, you probably wouldn't do the survey. You're like, I don't want to, this is too long. How much longer do I got, right? So we put that up there to motivate people to complete the task. And then priming. Subtle cues and as our environment shape how people feel about a product, such as luxury, background music, makes wine seem better, right? Go to a Mexican restaurant, if they're playing Mexican music, the food might taste better, you might be like, oh, it's more authentic, right? Than if they play some other kind of music, right? Have wine, ooh, nice classical opera. Feel more sophisticated with wine. Just add a little element and it changes everything. And the background too, so you'll see the product like advertised and then the background is just, you're like, why did they choose that background? It's to make you think a certain way about their product. So back to your favorite influencers. Let's say it's the, I don't know, I keep thinking of Ariana Grande from makeup. But there's somebody else.
Kylie Jenner. Kylie Jenner.
Maybe, right? And so what'll happen is you'll go on TikTok or whatever, and you see them doing the makeup, and you see the background, and the background looks like a normal background. Oh my gosh, it's just a regular couch, and there's a pillow thrown there, and a jacket. So that they can resonate with you. But that background is staged. There's a team group of people, like, no, put that right there and there, so that you seem like a normal person. So you could be relatable to the average person. And then what they'll say, oh my gosh, she's so down to earth. She's just like me. Like, that's a lie, right? As soon as that ad is over, she leaves the room and goes to her real penthouse suite, luxury hotel room, right? So he's like, but that works. Priming, right? Add things in the environment, it'll shape how people think about that. And make it them to buy more of it, to relatability. All right, that is it. Have a good weekend. You know what? I'm gonna put the due dates on all the discussions and assignments to try to keep up, because now we'll be in week 6 next week. So you haven't did the discussions for each week, try to catch up, all right? Well, I'll put the rest of the due dates up there. Usually everything's due Sunday at midnight before the week. And then try to have a presentation in the back.